The snow was falling softly when Officer Ryan sat alone at an outdoor cafe, his plate still steaming. That's when he noticed her, a starving dog standing a few feet away, eyes wide, ribs showing beneath her coat. She didn't bark, didn't beg. She just looked at him as if asking, "Can I eat with you?" For a moment, time froze. Ryan stared back, torn between duty and heart. Then he sighed, smiled, and whispered, "Yeah, buddy. Come sit." What happened next would change both their lives forever and remind everyone that kindness costs nothing, but can mean everything. The city was still half asleep when Officer Ryan Cole stepped out of his patrol car. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the sky, melting as they touched his navy blue uniform. He tugged his coat tighter and walked toward the quiet cafe at the corner of 5th Street, the one he used to visit with his K-9 partner, Shadow. But Shadow was gone now, and breakfast didn't taste the same without him. Ryan sat alone at an outdoor table, steam rising from his cup of coffee. The streets were empty except for the faint hum of traffic in the distance. He took a slow sip, trying to ignore the hollow ache that had become a part of his mornings. Then he noticed her. A dog, thin, trembling, with eyes too sad for her young face, stood across the street. Watching him, her ribs showed through her dirty fur, and her breath puffed in small clouds against the cold. She didn't bark or move closer. She just stared, her gaze locked on the plate of food before him. Ryan froze, fork in hand. Something about that look, quiet, pleading, innocent, stirred something deep inside him he thought had died with Shadow. Ryan tried to ignore the stare, forcing himself to eat, but every bite felt heavier than the last. The dog didn't move. She just stood there, snow gathering on her back, her eyes never leaving his plate. He could almost hear the question behind that gaze. "Please, just a little." He sighed, pushing his plate away. "You picked the wrong cop for sympathy," he muttered, though even he didn't believe it. The dog tilted her head, ears twitching at the sound of his voice. That tiny movement, so hopeful, so fragile, made his heart twist. After a long pause, Ryan broke a piece of bread and gently slid it across the table toward her. She didn't rush. Every step she took was cautious, deliberate. Her paws left small prints in the snow, her nose twitching nervously. Finally, she stretched forward, snatched the bread, and backed away, but she didn't run. Ryan smiled faintly. "Smart girl," he whispered. He tossed another piece, then another. By the fourth, she was close enough for him to see the hunger in her eyes. Not just for food, but for kindness. He leaned back, watching her eat in silence. "You must have been alone a long time," he murmured. For the first time in months, he wasn't alone either. When Ryan finished his meal, he stood and brushed the snow from his jacket. The dog had retreated a few feet, watching him warily, crumbs clinging to her whiskers. "All right, show's over," he said softly, dropping a few dollars on the table. He turned and walked toward his car, boots crunching against the ice. He didn't look back until he heard it, the faint sound of paws behind him. He turned slightly. There she was, a few paces away, head lowered, tail wagging cautiously. "You following me now?" he asked, but the corners of his mouth twitched into a smile. She froze when he stopped, then took another hesitant step forward. Ryan tested her, turning left down a side street. The dog followed. He crossed the road. She followed again, careful to avoid the slush. By the time he reached his patrol car, she was only a few feet behind, panting softly. Ryan sighed. "You're stubborn," he said, pulling the car door open. He hesitated, glancing back at her shivering frame. Snowflakes clung to her fur, her eyes still pleading without a sound. "Fine," he muttered, stepping aside. "You coming or not?" For a heartbeat, she stood still, then leapt inside, curling into the passenger seat. Ryan exhaled deeply. "Guess that's a yes, partner." The heater hummed softly as the patrol car rolled through the snow-lined streets. The dog, still silent, sat curled on the seat, her head resting against the door. Ryan glanced at her, shaking his head with a faint smile. "You sure picked the right day to beg for breakfast," he said. She didn't respond, only closed her eyes, as if finally safe. When they reached the precinct, curious glances followed them. Officer Mills raised an eyebrow. "You rescuing strays now, Cole?" Ryan shrugged. "Just giving her a ride." The others laughed, but when the dog peeked out from behind Ryan's leg, the laughter softened. Someone even whispered, "She's beautiful." Ryan set up a blanket near his desk, sliding a bowl of water beside it. Over the next few days, she stayed by his side, through reports, patrols, even coffee breaks. Slowly, the fear in her eyes began to fade. Ryan named her Grace. It seemed fitting. She learned his voice, his footsteps, even his moods. When he frowned, she'd nudge his hand. When he smiled, her tail wagged. One evening, she followed a simple command without hesitation: stay. Ryan froze. That wasn't just luck. It was training. He studied her closely. You're not just some stray, are you? Grace tilted her head, her golden eyes holding a secret yet to be told. The thought wouldn't leave Ryan's mind. Grace obeyed commands too perfectly, too instinctively, as if she'd done it her whole life. One quiet afternoon, curiosity got the better of him. He borrowed the department's microchip scanner and gently waved it over her shoulder. A faint beep sounded. Ryan's heart skipped. A file appeared on the screen, registered. K9 Grace, handler, Officer Mark Willis. Ryan froze. Mark, his old partner, his best friend, the man who died in a raid 2 years earlier. The same night Ryan lost Shadow. Grace hadn't just wandered into his life. She had come from his past. He sat back, trembling slightly as he scrolled through the report. Grace had been part of Mark's unit, wounded during the operation that claimed her handler's life. Declared unfit for duty, she'd been sent to a shelter for rehabilitation but never picked up. Somewhere along the way, she vanished. Ryan looked down at her. She rested her head on his boot, her golden eyes steady, trusting. You knew him, didn't you? He whispered. You were his girl. Grace's tail thumped once against the floor. Tears welled in Ryan's eyes. All this time, you weren't asking for food. You were finding your way home. The silence that followed was sacred, a reunion written by fate itself. Weeks passed, and the precinct slowly adjusted to its newest unofficial member. Grace no longer hid behind Ryan's desk. She greeted every officer who entered, tail wagging, eyes bright with life. The once starving stray was now the heart of the station. But for Ryan, she was more than that. She was family, a living bridge to a past he thought he'd lost forever. One morning, the chief approached Ryan's desk. Cole, he said, smiling, she's something special. We're making it official. Grace is now our therapy and community outreach dog. Ryan blinked, caught off guard, then laughed softly. Guess you've got a badge now, partner. That evening, Ryan returned to the same cafe where it all began. Snow fell softly again, coating the empty tables in white. He broke a sandwich in half, setting one piece on a napkin beside him. Grace sat down, tail brushing the snow. Breakfast, just like old times, Ryan said, smiling as she gently took the food from his hand. The world around them seemed to pause. Just a man and his dog, two souls once broken, now whole again. As the narrator's voice closes. Sometimes, love doesn't come when we seek it. It finds us when we need it most.